questions short and to the point. I'd like to remind you that this session is webcammed and there are people watching us at home, and to that extent a number of people have sent us written questions which we'll get to in the course of the meeting. But first I'll take a verbal question. Let's deal with Mrs. Moss first.
Firstly, I'd like to say nice to see you looking well again, and
thank you very much.
Glad to see you've recovered from your recent illness.
Stephen did a fantastic job last time, so thank you, Stephen. Yeah, thank you for that.
I mean, I think I made my feelings quite clear on my post of Angry of Havering and in the recorder. But Councillor White, in the recorder you said that Councillor Stephen Kelly answered all your questions, all the questions that was raised. But Councillor Kelly couldn't answer questions that were raised for you. He kindly agreed to pass them on to you, and you haven't got back to me. Which, you know, I'm not very impressed with, but basically, I mean, it's been a year since I first came into this chamber about special responsibility allowances, and you are still yet to identify who are the other 19 councils that are on a similar scheme.
Well, the other 19 councils are on the London Council's website. I don't know if it's 19 now, because I understand that Barnet have decided to do something else. It goes up and down. I don't know what it is today. Not looked at it. Have you looked at it recently? No, I've not looked at it either. I am committed, like the council is, to the scheme that we're in, because I believe it provides us with an answer to a problem that many councils deal with, which is how to set councillors' remuneration. I think to have an independent body set it for us is the right way. I'm comfortable with us setting our own SRAs, and I believe that the scheme that we have in Havering is a fair and just one. It's one I fought the last 2 elections on, have been successful in, so I'm comfortable with it.
Can I just ask that you say that it may have changed now? Would it be possible for you to send me via email the 19 councils you were referring to in the December ARSA Cabinet? When you
could, in the December, I don't know, I have to find out. I've not looked at it recently. I don't know how many councils. It could have gone up to 21, of course. I don't know. I've not looked at it, but no doubt those councils, I think, are on the London Council's website, but I certainly can find out who currently runs the scheme.
So I would appreciate something. I know it's not just myself that's been asking, it's someone else has also asked to be the same. But, so I would appreciate that. If I could actually go on to my question for this evening.
Yes, please.
I noticed an article in the Yellow Advertiser newspaper on January the 18th. This article stated that a ward councillor was involved in submitting a Freedom of Information request regarding a planning proposal for Hornchurch Country Park. I was rather shocked that a councillor would have to take such drastic action, as I assumed that ward councillors were always informed of proposed plans that would directly affect their residents. I therefore made a mental note to follow the progress of this Freedom of Information request. In the Yellow Advertiser newspaper on the 1st of March 2012, there was an article which stated this Freedom of Information request was responded to with an answer that was not true. The applicant was advised that Havering Council did not have the information requested due to the fact that a planning application had yet to be submitted. However, it later emerged that this was not in fact the case, and the matter had been discussed at a cabinet meeting in November. Havering Council then had to apologise to the applicant. I decided to contact the ward councillor concerned and ask him why he was not aware of the facts of this matter and why there was a need to resort to submitting a Freedom of Information request. When I spoke to Councillor Dion Burton, he explained to me that he had been put in an untenable position as a great amount of information for this proposal has been restricted under the Local Government Act. If Councillor Burton did advise his residents, he could then face severe sanctions and even suspension. I am utterly appalled at Havering Council's conduct regarding this matter and would like to know why the Local Government Act is being used to deliberately prevent residents from being informed of proposals that will ultimately have an adverse effect on their quality of lives. Additionally, this has also prevented a ward councillor from doing the very job that his residents elected him to do. I would like to hear your comments.
Well, my comment is I am not aware of the case you're speaking of. I'll, of course, take it away and have a look at it. don't see every FOI that comes into the council. I am surprised that a councillor feels it necessary to have a freedom of information request needed. It's the first time I've ever heard of it. Certainly any ward councillor I've ever come across who wants to find something that's going on in their particular ward, then all they need to do is pick up the phone and ask the relevant officer. If I heard that there was an officer that was not given information that was relevant to a person's ward, then I would I'd have to take that matter up with the chief executive, because the officers that work here work for the council, and I would expect all officers to be absolutely as accommodating as possible to a ward councillor, especially if it's in his ward or her ward.
Can I just say as well, I've got the copy of the freedom of information request here. It's regarding Hornchurch Country Park. It's basically saying that the first one was in terms of volume, how much waste is there proposed will be deposited in the Hornchurch Country Park. And the second one is, as it's proposed, the waste will be transported to the deposit site in the Hornchurch Country Park via a lorry access route. Minded of a 7-day week, how many days a week will lorries visit the site? How many lorries a day is it proposed will visit the site? And what is the size, weight, structure will these lorries be? Now this is quite important information for residents. And why was the applicant told that this information didn't exist when it was a cabinet decision, and then later told, well, sorry, it does exist?
There was no
Okay. Okay. Well, obviously, as I said, I don't know the case. I can get back to you on that. Councillor Kelly has suggested that the reason we didn't know that information is because no application had been put in at that time. And if that is the case, then that information would not be available to the council to pass on.
But the council apologised to the applicant because they did have the information. I mean, I really would appreciate you coming back to this.
I'll have to come back to you.
Because I think, I've got serious concerns about this.
But there are, freedom of information, we have to, by law, give over the information as it comes in. Freedom of information is costing this council an absolute fortune. It's costing London about £3-4 million, roughly, I've been told, a year, which is money that we could be spending on social services and other things. But I think trying to find that much I spend on biscuits a year is not in the public interest, in my view, but that's just my view. I think if you can ask me questions that are relevant to the way in which the council run, I think we should be open and transparent and tell you absolutely right. But I think that, I don't know, I think that it's a debate that goes on. I think there is a fine line between the information that should be in the public interest and should be put out there. This is probably one of those, and some of the stuff, I was asked last year how many times I jumped on an aeroplane on council business. I answered 0 4 times. It's going to be 0 no matter how many times I get asked that. It's going to be 0 because it's 0. But hey, my officers have to deal with that. I think that in this case, it's a very valid case, and I will take it up and I will write to you.
Especially regarding the Local Government Act.
Well, I'm interested because the Local Government Act only came in last week, was it?
That's which Local Government Act?
I don't know. I haven't got which section of the Act, but I was informed that a councillor couldn't inform their residents of what was really going on.
Yeah, okay, can you just drop me a line on all that?
Yes.
And then I'll get back, I'll promise to get back to you.
Okay, you'll get back to me this time, councillor.
I always get back.
No, you don't.
Well, if you drop me an email on my Twitter is not something that's run by the council. It's run by me. It's my personal Twitter. You follow me on it and you pose me questions on it, as many people do, and I always try to get back to it. But with those, unlike emails to the council where I have officers who go away and do things for me when you email me the council, on Twitter a lot of the time I have to go and do it myself because it's my own personal Twitter.
But so Councillor Stephen Kelly at the last Ask the Cabinet, assured me you'd passed on the details, and I'm sure that he did. And he never got back to me.
I'm sure he did, but you'll understand that that we will always endeavour to get back as quickly as we can. Well, I think I've answered your questions on a number of occasions about SRAs, and you keep raising the same question. The answer's never going to change no matter how many times you ask it. Would you like to ask me a question?